Okay, so maybe you're like noticing. I mean, maybe you just binge listened to all of these and so you're not noticing yet because you just listened to all of these. But if you took the time to pause and had the week in between or a day in between and started noticing that shame really is everywhere, you might be on the same page as me now. You might be like, oh, okay, wait, yeah, you're right. It's underneath a lot of things. And I like to layer down to the thoughts, right? Like I have those conscious thoughts and then I go like one layer deep, like what's underneath that? And then I go another layer deep. And then I'm like, what's underneath that? And then I go another layer deep. And then I'm like, what's underneath that? And for me, every time that I've done this, it's something shame-based. It's something where I feel inadequate. There's something wrong with me. And that it has less to do with my actions and behavior and more to do with like me as a person, my me-ness. So if you're on the same page as me now, or if you're like at least intrigued, like maybe I'm there, I'm not really sure. I want you to know that there is a way to move through the shame. I know I've just spent several episodes being like, look, it's everywhere. And maybe you're like opening up your eyes to like it being everywhere, but there is actually processes that you can do to get through it. And this is how I describe it now to myself and to my clients. I think of it like there's two selves. Inside of each of us is two selves. One is our true self, who we actually are. One is this part of us that feels like wounded or hurt or comes with all these feelings, anger or sadness or grief or pain or whatever. Neither of them are wrong or bad. It's having a relationship between the two selves. I like to think of it as a parent and child because that just makes sense to me and it's very simple. Our parent self naturally is usually pretty critical. So I want you to be thinking about like your parent self voices. Some people call that the inner critic. But I think of it like that parent self who's just like, oh, we should think more positively about this. Oh, it's not that big of a deal. Oh, just calm down, right? Is that how your inner parent self speaks to you internally? Because you also have this inner child self, just like you have this inner parent self. And that inner child self is there to show you something, to tell you that they're hurt, to tell you that they're offended, to tell you that they're afraid, to tell you that they're worried about uncertainty in the future, that they think something might happen that's wrong or whatever. They have a lot of things there to say. And our parent self can sometimes be a little condescending or dismissive. Oftentimes, if you were raised in a shame-based home, which even if your parents were loving and kind, I'm sure there's like good things about your parents also. If you were raised in the 80s, 90s, early 2000s, / also a lot of people now, it was just naturally shame-based. Yelling, belittling, words like, you should know better, or your sister would never do that, or how could you, or you're making me mad, or I don't know. There's numerous ways that shame can show up that isn't just like yelling and grounding and spanking. But if you were raised in kind of that like millennial time of like shame-basedness or before, shame often shows up in your inner parent self. Often it sounds like either your parent did or the thoughts that you had about what your parent was saying or doing. And so that inner parent self can often be hypercritical, can be overly positive and optimistic, like, no, it's fine, you're totally fine, this isn't a big deal, like, just get over it, kind of dismissive to us. And that inner child self can be like pushed down and it can be dismissed and it can feel like our parent self is condescending to it. What we want to try and come to is a communion between both of these, a healthy relationship between both of these selves in which both of them feel like they can be seen and heard for us, within us. This isn't like us communicating with somebody outside of ourselves. This is us communicating with us, taking time to truly listen to what's happening inside of ourselves. When we're feeling emotionally activated, we can imagine it's like a little child that just came to us and they're like, I'm feeling afraid. I'm feeling worried that I don't know what's going to happen and I'm not going to be able to handle it. When we're feeling angry, it can come to us and be like, I'm actually really hurt by what they just said. Like that was really hard on me. When we're feeling frustrated, it might be something about our capacity. It often is for me. I might not be able to handle this. I might not have the capacity. I might not be able to do all that I just put on my plate. There is a lot of messages that inner child self is trying to speak to us to, and we need to become the kind of inner parent that's truly listening and calming, but not calming through dismissiveness or arrogance or condescending, calming through listening and being with and sitting with. The parent that you needed in your hardest times, your worst times as a child. That is what we're trying to cultivate within us, is that kind of parent figure inside of ourselves so that our inner child self is feeling safe, is feeling secure, is feeling heard. And inner child work isn't all about just like healing all of our wounded parts, but it also opens up our creativity. It opens up our play. It opens up all of those parts of us that like feel uninhibited, like we can just be us. If you go back to the moment when you were 4 years old, you probably deeply loved yourself. You probably didn't think about what other people were thinking about you. You probably just went around singing and dancing and like joyfully making, music and creating and thinking your art was amazing because we hadn't yet often taken on these negative self-identities about ourselves yet. That's kind of what we're trying to go back to. We're trying to go back to our 4-year-old self, like all of the good parts that we left behind there that are still within us. It's not just becoming somebody new. It's becoming who we already are deep inside. If you are enjoying these episodes, I would love for you to follow, subscribe, like, share, do all those things so that it can get more out into the world, more out into the algorithm, and join me in this shame-free movement.